This is our second grade unit about shapes, geometric, organic, and symmetrical. In our first lesson, we're going to be inspired by Spanish artist Juan Miró. Here is a look at two of Miró's paintings. Miró used lines and shapes, both organic shapes and geometric shapes, in his abstract paintings. Abstract means that he didn't want them to look realistic. He is using the lines and shapes and the colors to make them look more interesting. Even though he did that, we can still see different types of images in Miró's abstract paintings. For this project, you'll need your sketchbook, crayons, one black marker, and your pencil. I'm starting with some geometric shapes to create my creature. I'm working in a Sharpie so that you can see it better on the camera, but you should probably work in pencil and then outline or trace over your pencil with a marker. I'm just using some simple organic shapes to create arms and legs, and I'm going to continue to fill in my drawing with different organic and geometric shapes, adding more details that will make my work more interesting. Once you're done adding details to your picture, make sure you have some background details. You're going to start to color. I want you to think today about blending colors with your crayon. So here, I'm just starting lightly with one layer of orange. I'm really controlling my crayon. I'm going nice and slow, filling things in carefully, and again, lightly with this first layer so that I can blend other colors on top to change my color. Here, if I overlap that orange with yellow, I can create a new yellow-orange color. If I go over the bottom with red, I'm going to create more of a red-orange color. Once I add a layer, I can go back over with a lighter color crayon and it will blend it together. So layering my colors or blending my colors makes for a more interesting, more finished looking work of art. For our second lesson, we're going to be inspired by the work of French artist Henri Matisse. Henri Matisse used paper to make collages. Collage in French means cutout. Matisse used his scissors very carefully. He actually called cutting drawing with scissors. Here is a look at one of Henri Matisse's collages. You can see how he used organic and geometric shapes. To start your collage, you're going to need 3 pieces of your colored paper from your box, your scissors, your glue, and your sketchbook. Start by stacking your 3 pieces of paper up, folding them in half, pressing along the fold, and cutting along that line. This will give you smaller pieces of paper to work with. Start by choosing one piece of paper. You're going to fold it in half again, line up your edges, press back into the fold, press the fold down carefully with one finger. If I cut into the folds, I'm going to create a symmetrical shape, a shape that is the same on both sides. I can use both the negative space or background piece or the positive space or shape that I cut out. For this next one, I'm going to fold it the same way, and this time I'm going to turn it around and cut into the open side. If I cut into the open side, I can create 2 shapes that are the same. So again, cut into the fold for symmetrical shape, cut into the open side for 2 shapes. As you're cutting, always remember, keep your fingers out of the way and move your scissors and turn your paper as well. If I cut into my shape, I can make a smaller shape that is essentially the same and have more pieces to work with. Once I've created several pieces to work with, I'm going to lay them out and think about my composition, how I'm going to arrange them on my paper. Once you've decided on a composition that you're happy with, you're going to open your glue. For this, don't press too hard. Our paper's pretty thin. Remember our dot, dot, not a lot rule. So put a few dots of glue, smooth out your paper when you press it down so it doesn't bubble up, and continue to arrange your shapes on your paper. If you get too much glue on your paper, use a scrap to spread it out so that your work is not bumpy or bubbly. Continue to add pieces of your collage. Here you can see I've created movement to move my viewer's eye through my picture, and I will continue to overlap. That means I'm going to put some of my shapes partially on top of shapes below it so that we only see part of those background shapes. Continue to build up your collage until you're happy with it. Happy drawing with your scissors. I can't wait to see what you create. Don't forget, save your good scraps, throw your bad scraps away, take care of your scissors, and close your glue. Lesson 3, Matisse-inspired printing. For this, you're going to need markers, scissors, glue, the foam scrap and the cardboard scrap from your box, and your sketchbook. Start by cutting shapes from your foam. I'm going to cut organic and geometric shapes. Here I started with a square. I'm nibbling off the corners to create an octagon, and if I continue to nibble off the corners, I'll change the octagon into a circle. Take your time. It's a little tricky to cut small shapes out of the foam. Make sure your fingers are out of the way. When you're happy with your shapes, glue them down to your cardboard. For this activity, you want to let it dry for about 20 minutes. Put something heavy on top of it. When it's nice and dry, you're going to use your regular water-based markers and color on top of the foam shapes. Here, I'm just using red to show you. You can use any colors you want to. You can change up your colors, but you do need to work pretty fast. When they are all colored in, you're going to grab a paper towel and wet it, and then you're just gonna wet down the other side of the paper. So I'm wetting down the back side of a piece of paper, and then I'm going to press it on top of my printing plate that I just made. And then I'm going to rub it lightly. So the water is going to help to reactivate the marker, and it's going to make a print or transfer to the other side. So here is another version with different colors and different shapes. Happy creating! For this lesson, you're going to create a symmetrical shaped butterfly. You will need your sketchbook, black tempera paint, your paintbrush, and your crayons. Start by tearing one piece of paper out of the back of your sketchbook. Hold it down carefully as you're tearing so you don't hurt the binding of your sketchbook. You're going to hold it the wide way, fold it in half, again pushing back into that fold, making sure it's nice and flat with one finger. You're going to open it up, and on the right hand side, you're going to paint a small line, a medium line, and a long line. This will become the body of our butterfly. We have to have enough paint and work quickly so that we can transfer it to the other side. So again, I just folded and pressed. If it does not come out enough, you can go back, add more paint, fold it, and press it down again. All right, you're going to continue to do this one step at a time. So I did the top of the butterfly wing and pressed it down. Now I'm going to do the middle of the butterfly wing. Same thing, just pressing it down as I go. You want to be careful not to add too much paint. Oops, I painted on the wrong side, but that's okay. As long as the paint's on top when I fold and press, it's still going to work. So there's my symmetrical butterfly. When you've given it enough time to completely dry, you're going to color it with your crayons. Remember, you can do that blending trick with your crayons. You want to make sure each side is colored the same as the other side to keep it symmetrical. Remember, symmetrical is one side is the mirror image of the other. When you're done, you're going to fold it backwards and you're going to cut it out. Remember, this is a good time to be drawing with your scissors. So you're going to turn your paper and your scissors as you cut. So cut it around that shape, open it up, glue it back into your sketchbook, and then you will be done. In this lesson, we're going to be inspired by the use of shapes in the artwork of American painter James Rizzi. who used all kinds of organic and geometric shapes in his work. Here is an example of one of Rizzi's paintings. Look at the way he uses basic shapes and overlaps them and adds a ton of detail to make his paintings exciting and interesting to look at. I'm going to start with a ground line. The ground line is where the sky and the ground meets. And then I'm going to start to build some rectangles for the buildings in my city. And some of them I'll put other shapes on top. Some of them I will overlap. That means I can only see part of the building that is in the back of the building that is in the front. Again, I'm using some very simple geometric shapes to start with. Once I'm happy with my geometric shapes, I can begin to add details using smaller shapes. So on this building, I'm going to add some windows and a door. And I love the way Rizzi's buildings have faces, so I'm also going to add faces to my buildings. I'm layering in this detail again using shapes and lines to create interest. Once I've added details to my building, I'm going to think about the foreground, the area in front or at the bottom of my paper, and I'm going to add some details to that. I'm going to add some organic shapes and some more geometric shapes to build a park and some water. And then at the top of my paper, or way up in the background sky area, I'm going to add other details. Once you're done drawing your city, you're going to use your crayons to add color. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. In this lesson, we're going to look at organic shapes from nature. So I've started by finding some leaves. If it's not the right time of year for you to find leaves, you can look at the ones in this video. You could pause the video to draw from it. I'm going to trace the outside shape with my eye at the same pace I'm moving my pencil. That makes it easier for me to find that organic shape I'm trying to draw. Another way I could get the organic shape is to trace an actual leaf, although I like it better when I draw it because my lines look more curvy. So I'm just going to redraw the outside shape of this leaf. Another way to draw organic shapes is to just use your imagination or your memory and think about the shape of a leaf. Once you're done drawing your leaves, you're going to outline them with a black marker. I'm using the markers I have at home, but you can use the markers that came in your kit. Your markers are water-based and will work really nicely for this activity. When you're done outlining, you're going to find your warm color markers. So that's your reds, oranges, yellows, and pinks. And you're going to start with lines coming from the center, going towards the edge. Organic things tend to grow from the center towards the top and outside. So I'm just going to make some small lines. I'm not coloring solid like I did in my other assignments. I'm drawing short, sketchy lines to help fill in the leaf shape. Depending how many colors I layer, it'll change the overall look and feeling of each leaf. So experiment with how you're blending your colors. When you're done with your leaves, you're going to use your cool color markers. That's your blues, greens, and violets. And you're going to start to draw lines for water. Think about how water moves when something touches it. So I'm going to draw curvy lines around my leaves. I'm going to draw small circular lines, the way water might look if it is hit by like a raindrop. And I'm going to do that to fill in the entire background in between and around my leaves. I'm going to overlap these colors just like I did when I colored in the leaf shapes. I can't wait to see your organic shaped floating leaves.